Hello and welcome to Making Tracks. In these programs we'll be looking at railways throughout the world with the accent mainly on steam, both working and preserved.
We're at the Great Central Railway in Leicestershire, and later we'll be having a look round and talking to some of the volunteers who helped to keep it running.
But we start by a country where steam locomotives are still pulling revenue-earning trains, and it's not as far away as you'd think. In the western section of rural Poland lies the small town of Wolsztyn, an inconspicuous place set in fairly flat fields and farmland. Wolsztyn has, however, a great claim to fame. It has the last mainline all-steam depot in Europe. Steam has survived in Poland far longer than other European countries. This is due to lack of investment in new technology, plus an abundance of coal and cheap labor. Steam operations have, however, been drastically reduced over the last few years, eventually being confined to secondary branch line work. Even this has now virtually gone, following cuts in services and in some cases complete closure of lines. However, Wolsztyn and its surrounding area clings on stubbornly to its steam services, with many local passenger turns and even some freight working, especially during the sugar beet season. Possibly one of the reasons for this is the museum status that Wolsztyn depot has been given. And many preserved locos are stationed here, such as the final example of the Prussian P8 to be found in Poland, and also a PT-47, a superb express passenger locomotive still looking good on a two-coach local. The non-preserved fleet comprises the German-built 210 class TY2 and its Polish-built equivalent, the TY42. Also to be seen are several 262 class OL49 locos, all kept in very good order by the staff at Wolsztyn. When steam hauled services in Poland finally come to an end, Wolsztyn will hopefully remain as a centre for the preservation movement, attracting enthusiasts from all over the world. For many years now, British Rail has allowed steam haul specials to run over certain approved routes on the main line, giving locos from preservation societies and the National Collection an opportunity to be put through their paces.
Perhaps the most famous line in England seeing steam working is that from Settle to Carlisle, subject of a dramatic reprieve from closure last year, largely due to fierce lobbying by the railway fraternity. The sight of steam locos forging their way through this rugged and impressive landscape is a fine sight. Although the unpredictable weather presents a major problem to photographers, as was the case when the fog descended on King Arthur class number 777 Salamiel, as it departed from Garsdale in February 1991. The return working on the same day was hauled by a Gresley class V2 Green Arrow, seen storming up to the summit just south of Kirkby Stephen. The route from Shrewsbury to Newport is a popular route for steam excursions. The motive power on this occasion being Class A4 Pacific, Union of South Africa. The Great Western Society provided a series of shuttles between Oxford and its home base at Didcot on the 29th of February last year, with 460 Burton Agnes Hall in charge. Running steam locos under electric wires is normally strictly forbidden under BR policy. However, the electricity still had to be switched on along this section from Cambridge to King's Lynn, and Class A3 Pacific, number 4472 Flying Scotsman, was one of 3 locos used on the 19th of October 1991, providing a shuttle service between the 2 destinations. The Great Central Railway is one of over 80 preserved lines in Britain. Most steam railways are of a branch or secondary line nature, but here there are ambitious plans to reinstate 16 miles of the former Great Central Main Line, running steam locos at speed on the double-track section.
An ambitious project indeed, and although the railway has amassed an impressive fleet of large locomotives, it'll be some time yet before the full recreation of a mainline atmosphere will be realized. There is still much to do, including the relaying of several miles of track, almost all of which is single line so far. Ray Martin, one of the volunteer footplate staff, highlights the situation.
Ray Martin, running a railway like this is quite odd. Big engines on the line. How long is the line?
It's 8 miles long. It goes up to Leicester North.
What's the engineering problems of running a big engine on a short line like that?
Well, the speed restriction is 25, which is a light railway, and also the wheels that wear on the flange. Because we have no turntable, so obviously it's just up and back all the time.
You cannot turn your engines here at all?
No, we have no facility whatsoever. We have got a turntable, and eventually it will be installed at Leicester North, as and when the funds are available.
No, you don't own your engines, do you?
No, but we only own one, that's the J94. All the rest are owned by private individuals or syndicates.
The railway also plays host to visiting engines, Clun Castle being on extended loan from the Birmingham Railway Museum, and Bullied Light Pacific Swanage paying a 2-week visit earlier in the year from the Mid-Hants Railway. Even after painstaking and meticulous restoration of these locos, the problems are by no means over. Engines being potentially lethal when mishandled have to comply with stringent and rigorous safety requirements.
How long does a boiler live?
Well, there's a 10-year certificate on them, and that once that 10 years expires, then they have to be stripped down and retooled.
Immaterial, does it have anything to do with how much you run?
No, immaterial, 10 years and 10 years.
Just one example of the horrendous cost in maintaining steam locomotives. In fact, running a whole railway costs far more than many people realize. That's why gala weekends such as this are so important in keeping much needed revenue flowing in. Just as important are the thousands of hours of unpaid time put in by volunteers who come from all walks of life. Virtually no preserved railway in this country could survive if it were not for the services of these men and women whose interest in preservation of railways brings them to lines such as this. For driver Bill Gwilt, the interest began many years ago, working for British Railways.
I started firing originally at Bedford way back in 1952, and I went around different areas, went to Kentish Town, Bletchley, and finished up at Camden.
You weren't driving, you were firing where you were on those big...
I was firing at Camden, and I got passed out for driving just towards the end of steam.
What was the longest run you used to do in one go?
We used to go to Carlisle, Euston to Carlisle.
And how much coal do you shift on a run like that?
We'd get through at least 10 tonne of coal at Carlisle.
Do you compete with each other, crews? Did they...
Yes, they did. Like, if you got a particular engine what probably wasn't a very good steamer, you know, you'd work hard to get that engine to steam and keep time, and then you get back to the loco shed and you say, oh, we've done well on that engine today, you know, and then the next crew were on it, they'll try and do the same thing, you know, and there's quite a lot of banter, yeah.
So you really had a sort of almost sweepstakes, who gets there on time?
That's right, yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. The blue ribbon.
Colloper, one of the LMS Jubilee class, is a type of loco that Bill would have certainly worked on during his time at British Railways, although probably not in this guise. After nationalisation in 1948, BR Green would have been the normal livery. The Great Central Railway has yet to realise its full potential. Plans are constantly being made to improve the quality of service and increase the range of interests to the visitors on whom the railway's life depends. The hundreds of people who give their time free of charge are the other vital element in the equation. So, the next time you visit the Great Central, spare a thought for the volunteers who help make it all possible.
You don't get paid for it, of course, no?
No, that's right, we don't. We do it for nothing. Yeah, in fact, it costs us money. But I love it.
Well, we're off across the Atlantic now to the magnificent Rockies of Colorado to witness a fairly unusual occurrence. In May of 1991, and with a week to go before the start of the running season, much of the line on the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad was still blocked by snowdrifts. In order to clear the way, it was decided to steam up one of the two rotary snowplows preserved here. Motive power for the big push was provided by a pair of Baldwin K36-282s, and the whole procession departed on the morning of 4th of May towards Cumbres Summit at an altitude of just over 10,000 feet. This line, along with the nearby Durango and Silverton Railroad, was part of the former Denver and Rio Grande Western narrow gauge system, and together must rank as among the most scenic in the world. The impressive sight was reminiscent of days gone by when as many as 5 locos could be employed in tackling the snowdrifts. As you would expect, the event brought visitors from far and wide, though few ventured onto this remote section, which saw the plough confronting some of the heaviest drifts on the line. The following day, number 488 headed a passenger special over the newly cleared section to Cumbres. The idea being that it would then follow behind the plough as it made its way on to Osier. Problems were encountered near the summit. The train stalling on the steepest part of the line, number 487 eventually being brought down from Cumbres to assist. Despite this problem, the two-day event was a great success and is certain to be repeated when the forces of nature once again conspire to make it possible.
Well, that's all for Making Tracks. We'll be back next week with scenes from a memorable South African rail tour.
And an unusual story from a rack railway in Austria.
And we'll also be seeing some more steam action on the main line, and we'll travel to the south of England to visit the Midhants Railway. So until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.